Have you ever looked at hopelessness? Maybe you're looking in the mirror and you're looking at yourself and you're feeling no hope. You're feeling helpless and hopeless. Well, I've been there, and maybe you've been there as well. Many years ago, I was in my office and somebody knocked on the door. I had no appointments that afternoon, and I opened the door and I was looking face to face with hopelessness. A young lady who had been evidently crying all day or maybe all week stumbled into my office and asked for help. She sat down on the chair and she told me her story that 3 years earlier she had left her mom and dad against their wishes, and she had started living with a man that had a terrible reputation. He was a drug dealer and a drug user. He was always running from the police and he was always in trouble. And she fell in love with this guy and she started using drugs, and her parents tried to help her, and finally she just shut her parents out. And a week before she came to see me, she went to the doctor and found out that she was pregnant, and she was very excited to be pregnant with her child. And when she went to tell her boyfriend about it, he went through the roof. He cursed her. He told her that she was going to have an abortion. They had a big argument. She refused to have the abortion. He was going to make her have the abortion. He said, if you don't have the abortion, you're out of here. And I never want to see you again. He had also been physically abusive with her and, of course, emotionally abusive, and so he kicked her out. She was too ashamed to go home to her parents. She had nobody because all her friends were in the drug world, and now he was kind of the kingpin of their little tribe, and now he didn't want anything to do with her. So she found our building, came to my office, and was asking for help. I was a young minister at the time. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, to be honest with you, except I listened, and I asked her if she minded if I read a scripture for her. Now, we had much more to say, but I finally said, would you mind if I read a scripture? And she said, well, I really came here for some spiritual direction. I haven't been to a church in a long time, and I came here because about 2 years ago, a friend of mine got married, and I was in the wedding, and I was here at this building. It's the only church building I've been in many years. That's why I'm here. And I'm not making this up. I had a Bible beside my chair, and I opened my Bible, and I just opened it, and it turned to John chapter 8. And I read the story that I had long known was in the Bible, the story of the adulterous woman, the woman who was caught in the very act of sin, and religious leaders had evidently entrapped her, and he was using this woman in order to trap Jesus in his words and to get something on Jesus. Religious leaders who didn't care about a human soul. Interesting, isn't it? And so they took this adulterous woman, and I was reading this from John 8, 1 through 11, and as I was reading it, the story, most of you have heard the story of a woman caught in adultery, slung at the feet of Jesus, and these hypocrites saying to Jesus, Jesus, the law says stone her. Now what do you say do? She was caught in the very act of adultery. And Jesus said, well, you guys without sin, why don't you start the stoning? And the older men left first. One by one, I could just see them drop their rocks, kind of look at Jesus, look at her, and walk away. Because you see, they knew they had sin as well as she had sin. And they were no better. In fact, they were worse because they didn't even care about her and her predicament. And finally, it's just Jesus and her left, and they're looking at each other. I can just picture this beautiful scene. And he asked her gently, woman, where are your accusers? And she said, they're nowhere to be found. There's no one here to accuse me. It's just Jesus and her. The master teacher, the one who came from heaven, the one who showed us what God is like. And he said 5 words to her, at least in the English translation. Neither do I condemn you. That's spoken by holy, holy Jesus who had never sinned. It's spoken by the one through whom all things were created. It's spoken by the one who knew the Father. It is spoken by the one who in John 5 had said, I only do what I see my Father doing, and the Father has shown me everything that he does. Everything that he does, he showed Jesus. You know what God does all day? Do you want to know what God does all day? What's on his to-do list? What's on his to-do list is what Jesus did. Do you know what's on his to-do list today? To find women and men who have screwed up, who are messed up, who are feeling hopeless and helpless. On his to-do list today is to find those people and to say, neither do I condemn you. And then he said something else. I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm convinced this is what he was talking about. He said, do you know you don't have to continue living the way you're living. You were made for something greater than that. So stop living like that with hopelessness and helplessness, and I will give you hope. When I got finished reading those 11 or 12 verses, I looked up at this young lady in my office, and by the way, her name was Hope. She had said, isn't it ironic? My name is Hope, and I have no hope. And I looked up and I saw her, and tears were coming down her face. And she said, I never knew that was in the Bible. I've never heard that story before. I told her I knew that story was in the Bible, but I had never heard that story before that day I read that story to Hope. Because you see, Jesus was living on hope that day. And in so doing, he was giving hope. She finally left the office. We found her a family to live with who loved her. She finally reunited with her parents. She had the baby. And I'm thinking, as I was thinking about this video, that baby's probably 25 years old today. Something like that. And I just wonder if Hope still has hope. I sure hope she does, don't you? I don't know where you are in the hope cycle. I don't know if you have no hope today. I don't know if you've given up. I don't think you've given up because you're watching this video. And maybe some friend asked you to watch this video. At Spark of Life, we believe in hope because we think we see hope return to people, and we've experienced it too. You see, when I was in the midst of preaching, I wanted to run away from God. In fact, I went through a period of time I didn't have much hope. It doesn't matter why right now. I can remember going up to the pulpit to preach and not wanting to be there. And I can remember being hurt so badly that I just wanted to run away. Have you ever been there? Are you there right now? We just want to share something with you. At Spark of Life, we believe in hope. And we exist as an organization. We exist with formerly hopeless people who have found hope and who want to share that with other people. Not beat you over the head with it, just love you and accept you. As that man long ago loved this fragile woman who was thrown at his feet by wicked, legalistic, religious leaders. And she found hope that day. Hope wants to be found. His name is Jesus. Sparkoflife.org. We're here to assist you, to walk beside you as we're all on this journey to find hope. At Spark of Life, there's always hope.